Coach, good morning. Mookie Hawkins, Buffalo Sports 1080. Happy New Year.
Yeah, thanks, Mookie. Happy New Year to you and your family also.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate that, Coach. I know this isn't your makeup. I know you don't get into coaching for this, but with this earned victory, Coach, your team will earn a franchise record of 13 wins, plus be the only Bills team to finish undefeated in the division. For the first time in history to have your name attached to something like that, how proud would you be on how your team played this regular season?
Yeah, very, very happy. I mean, we still got another game to go here, and every situation and circumstance is different every year. But we expect a tough game. This is a good team coming in here, and well-coached team, and they obviously have a chance to get into the playoffs with a victory. So we've got to be at our best.
Yes, sir. And I know you'll be that way this Sunday. Good luck, Coach.
Okay, thanks, Mookie. Appreciate it.
Hey, Sean. Saw you activated John Brown and those other guys off the COVID list. How comforting is that? Or I guess how much does that give you belief that you were able to contain that positive test there?
Still don't know. I mean, those, I think it's, COVID is COVID, Matt. So we're all aware of how unpredictable it is. Maybe it's the best way to say it. So, but it's good to get those guys back, and I'm glad that they're healthy.
Did you think that positive test gave just another of many reminders, I guess, that you've had this season to the guys, especially this time of year with any positive test could knock a guy out for the playoff game?
Yeah. But we continue to talk about that. You're seeing it. I mean, just yesterday, the number of guys that were popping up with the reports of having COVID, and these are guys that have been in the league for some time, and as we know, it doesn't discriminate in terms of who it picks. So we just got to continue to do our best and pray that everyone stays safe and healthy.
And wanted to ask you about your defensive line, particularly in the second half of the season, has really, come together and really started pressuring the quarterback more. As you look back, what are some of the things that you think started to click for that group as they got more time with Eric Washington?
Right. Well, I think the communication is big. The relationships that the guys have been able to build just from being on the field together. I mentioned the communication with the day-to-day in terms of the process leading up to the game. All of that's important. So I think Coach Washington has done a really good job, which is no surprise. I know him well. And so that process will continue. We've got to continue to get better up there, as well as on the offensive line and our whole team, in fact. So that's critical for us.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, just an update on Cole, John Feliciano, and Reggie Gilliam. Will any of them practice today?
Feliciano will practice. He's back in the building today, and will practice. The other two will not.
Okay. And, obviously Ryan Fitzpatrick's been ruled out, so it's Tua who, that was the expectation anyway. What challenges does he present, and what have you noticed in the week of preparation watching him on film?
I think his resume speaks for itself in terms of what he's done in college and what he's been able to do for the Dolphins to this point. They're a good football team, well-coached football team, and it's a team that we have a lot of respect for.
Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, hope you had a good New Year's Eve.
Hey, you too.
I know last week you elevated Davis Webb, but he was inactive for the game. So, we don't know what the plan is this week. But just in case he does, just to give it a little insight on Davis Webb, from what you've seen from him, what does he bring to your organization, your team on a daily basis and just overall?
Yeah, he does a good job. He's well liked by his teammates in terms of the off the field end of things, and spends time working on his craft, which is half the battle. And then on the field, he's been able to add value to us in a lot of different ways. So he's done a nice job since he's been here.
I know we go back to the offseason. He was one of the guys that kind of helped put that whole thing together in Florida when guys got, together and all that. And that a lot of guys really spoke about him, and his leadership abilities and things like that. How important is it to have an extra guy around just even if he's not going to be, if he's on the practice squad or just in the building, especially that position, to have a guy that really does have that leadership sense amongst the team.
Yeah, I mean, as many of those leaders that you can get at the player level, it's key. So because as I've said before, I can only do so much. At the end of the day, you've got to have internal leadership in that locker room and senior, veteran leadership from guys who have been there and done that. And so, I count on those guys a ton.
Thanks.
Sure.
Hey, Sean, Happy New Year. In regards to the running game, it seems like you've settled on a pretty regular rotation with Devin and with Zach. How have you seen both of those guys handle that? Because, they play a position where, like receiver and like most offensive skill positions, they want the ball as many times as possible. And you've got to kind of do your best to divide it amongst them. How have both of them handled that?
Yeah, I would say extremely well, Jay. Very unselfish in their approach, which I really appreciate. And really, the other part of it is the blocking part, the protection piece that a lot of people, that goes under the radar, I guess. And so they've taken ownership of that, which is important for our offense and the execution of our offense. And so it's been fun to watch them. It's interesting because, it seems like they alternate, like who has the bigger game, week to week. And yet there's no griping really. It's more of an attitude and a mindset of growth and how they can continue to improve and challenge one another, which is cool.
With Devin in particular, because he, made so many explosive plays last year, I think, there was a hope that maybe he would take a huge jump this year. And maybe statistically that hasn't happened as much as he would hope or as you guys would have hoped. But he does seem to be a pro, at least in the way that he approaches it, and doesn't let that frustration build. Have you had any discussions, or Brian had any discussions with him about that and just staying the course? And maybe if those huge games haven't been there, just staying invested in what he's doing?
Oh, man. Well, listen, he's a young player, number one, Jay, as you know. And number two is, I think you get back to the character of the person and the player in this case. And there was no question when we drafted Motor in terms of who he was, his character. And I think that has shown through. So he's a young player. He's going to have a ton of big games over the course of his career. I think he's had some this year. Sometimes when you come on the scene, like he did in his first year, people expect that every year. And so expectations levels change. And I think that changes the standard or what have you. But he's done a great job of doing his job. And so that to me is the most important thing.
And then just lastly from me, Mitch Morse, you guys, there was a game where, you wanted to give it a different look, and then Cody goes down and just like that, he's right back in the lineup. I take it he's probably another guy that has that veteran approach where he didn't let, a little bit of adversity shake him. How have you seen him respond now that he's been back into the lineup and, back to playing center for you guys?
I think he's handled it extremely well, shown a very mature and professional approach. He's shown mental toughness in the way that he has, learned from that situation and stayed mentally tough and continued to grow and improve his game, I think, all the while. And that's what you've seen, I think, across the roster at different positions, Mitch being one of them.
Well, thanks again. Happy New Year.
Yeah, you too.
Morning, Sean, and Happy New Year to you.
Morning, Sal. You too.
I got a couple questions for you about Dawson Knox, if I could. First of all, could you just maybe characterize the kind of season he's had? I mean, clearly it's been up and down, and he's gone through a lot. But how would you characterize his season so far this year?
Yeah, I would say, he's been through what I would say is a typical second year. And the thing I love about it, though, is that he has stayed mentally tough. And I think he's going to come out of this stronger. I've noticed that even in our last game. He had the early drop there in the back of the end zone. And then after that, it was he played a very aggressive type of game and attacked the football, and he blocked well. So, that's all part of sometimes the natural growth cycle, if you will.
And is he the kind of guy, Sean, because he played the position, really he was kind of new to it. He was a high school quarterback, that you just have to be patient with him. And I know it's sometimes hard to be patient, but is he the kind of guy that you just have to be because the skill set, it does look like it's there?
The college game is a lot different than the program, as you know, Sal. And so because of that, patience is important. But I just think overall, you look at what he's been able to do in the run in the pass game, how he's been able to develop. And I think with all of our young players, patience is important to a point. But the standard has to be clear in terms of the level of play and what we expect. And so I think with that in mind, I think he's done a good job of fighting through. And I think his best football is ahead of him.